Some people might have a little rock and roll pneumonia.
You wanted the best, you got the best from my home studio on Long Island, New York. Welcome to Ian Scotto Rocks. I am your host, Ian Scotto. It's actually kind of appropriate I'm rocking the Eddie Van Halen shirt, who is, of course, the greatest guitar virtuoso of all time, because although this band is on the heavier side, they certainly are known for having a guitar virtuoso, and that's none other than Lee McKinney, who plays some really intricate and amazing solos, and is definitely one of the things that got me into this band, Born of Osiris, and he will no longer be in the band, and this band is just, I love them, but in many ways falling apart before our eyes, and their last album, Angel or Alien, I think was the best thing they ever put out. I listen to it all the time, not a bad track on there, but first they lost an amazing bassist with David DeRocha. Then they lost the guy who does all of the singing, you know, not just the screaming, but really the main singing on the album and the keyboards that are so trademark, Joe Burris. And now we've lost their main guitarist, Lee McKinney. And yeah, it makes you think, does any band have all original members left anymore? I mean, every band, it's just like swapping out members, and who cares who's in the band at this point? And it's kind of sad to see. And the problem with Born of Osiris, which we'll get into, is they seem to lose members and then just never replace them. Because now with technology, you don't need to have all members on stage. I will get into all of that, but let's start it off with their announcement right here that they posted on their social media. And that is right here, as you can see, to our BOO crew, family around the world. We have some news to share with you. Lee McKinney and Born of Osiris are parting ways. We wish him the best with his future endeavors. None of our upcoming plans will change. Our new album, Through Shadows, will come out on July 11th. We will continue the European headline tour that we are on right now. We will not cancel any shows. For our upcoming Canadian tour in June and July, Scott Carstairs from Ethos Fallujah will be filling in on guitar. So yeah, they will have a fill-in on guitar. We're going to get into all of this. We will soon be announcing more details regarding the future guitar player of Born of Osiris, Ronnie, Cameron, and Nick. So for those of you keeping score, that leaves only two members of the original, not even original, of the classic lineup, I would say, their first LP left in the current inception of Born of Osiris. Let's get into Lee McKinney's statement here on his Instagram. He writes, "Thank you so much to all of the fans who listened, shared, supported, or attended what we put so much love into all these years. Thank you, Sumerian Records. What a blessing this has been. As for me, I will focus on family, solo music, content, and my new band, Dead Air Divine, with my great friend Tillian Pearson." Which, by the way, I wonder if that's, you know, if there's a reason that the acronym is DAD and he's talking about focusing on family. That's another thing we could talk about here. Our first album is almost complete. Follow us at Dead Air Divine. And then he has the link to pre-save his upcoming solo album. And he almost talks about this as though the band is done, as opposed to him leaving the band statement, which there's more on that as well. I was unaware that on this tour that they're on, they're playing shows without Lee. And this is troubling, all right? So, as you'll see here on Reddit, so I found a video of Born of Osiris playing last night, and Lee McKinney wasn't there. They are now down to Ronnie on vocals, Nick on guitar, and Cameron on drums. As much as I love their music, this is a shell of the band live. They're now missing a second guitar, bass, and keys vocals when they play live. It's literally half of what it used to be. Super sad to see. I wish them all the best no matter what the future holds. They've been one of my favorite bands since 2007. Then I see this other post here on Reddit. And it says, "For some reason, this community does not allow pictures or even cross posts, so I'm just going to go verbatim. I don't know if anyone saw, but he," referring to Lee, made a tweet which says, and I quote, "Hurts my heart to see Born of Osiris is done. Thanks for all the good memories. I got to see the world thanks to BOO. I have a new band, though. Dad is incoming." So we'll look at that actual tweet here. And there we have it. So once again, he kind of posts as if the band is done, not I'm leaving the band. And I don't know if that's just that he feels, and I understand that he feels he's such an integral part of this band that they can't or shouldn't continue without him. But look at this with the timeline of this band, man. It is a mess. Because right here, if we scroll down, you have Joe Burris, who was a major part of this band, did all the clean vocals, did all the keyboards live, and he has been gone for a little bit. Prior to that, as I mentioned, their bassist, David DeRocha, was gone. And now you have Lee, who's been with them since back in 2007-ish, really looks like 2007, right? It's a very long run. He's gone. I've seen these guys live, and here's the problem. I never saw them with David DeRocha, which I wish I could have. And oftentimes during that tenure, his tenure with the band, they would have a second guitarist, so they would have actually quite a number of members, right? Because if you look here, there would be times when they had a lead guitarist, you would talk about 3, 4, 5, 6 members in the band, right? Because you'd have Ronnie on main vocals, but he does really the screaming. You'd have a lead guitarist, you'd have a rhythm guitarist, you'd have Joe Burris on keyboards and doing all the singing, the clean singing, David on bass, and then you'd have a drummer. Now, it's been a while since they've had a lead guitarist, so really Lee has been the rhythm guitarist and the lead guitarist. Here's the thing. The first time I saw them was with Joe Burris, and you could tell he was a major part of that band live. And they are a band who openly has always relied on a lot of tracks because there's a lot going on in the background. There's a lot of atmospheric stuff, and on top of the keyboards, there's a lot of samples and loops going on. Totally fine with that. Understandable. There are many bands like that. Think back to 9 Inch Nails, right? They were kind of the pioneers of that. But Joe was still playing those keyboards live. After Joe left, I saw them on that tour they did with Attila, and it made a big difference not having him there because you would just have their second guitarist, and we'll get into that, which is Nick Rossi. So here's the thing. Nick Rossi is traditionally the bassist, but they don't have a live bassist. All you have then, right, is you have one guitarist live, a drummer, and a vocalist. You have the bass on a track. You have a lot of the singing parts on a track. You have the keyboards on a track. And now you have another guitarist on a track. I mean, at that point, what is even the point of seeing a live band? Now, with Lee leaving, I do understand this because the truth is, these guys are right around the same age as me, all right? I'm about to turn 39, and as you get to this age, especially now, right, people would have kids younger in life in years past. Many of my friends are having kids, right? And they're having stable careers, and being in a band, I think, and touring in a van, which they are the level of a band that's touring in a van, and they're not a band flying out everywhere or on a huge tour bus. In your 20s, and even early 30s, you could romanticize that a little bit. And I think once you get to your mid-30s and late 30s, you start to feel like, man, I'm falling behind in my life and the years are passing. And I've experienced this, even as someone not in a band, but as someone who's not working a traditional 9 to 5 and is just finding different ways to make things work. It could get exhausting for a lot of people. And the truth is also, this is a band who has remained pretty stable, but has not grown in terms of their appeal. So you'll see this, and I'm a fan of their whole discography, but especially a lot of the new stuff, truthfully. You have A Higher Place, which debuted way back in 2009 at 73. That was after their first EP. Then you have The Discovery at 87, Tomorrow We Die Alive, which was really when they broke into the mainstream because they had songs that just had a lot more of a mass appeal. At 27 on Billboard, which is really quite impressive for a metal band that plays as heavy of music as they do. Soul Sphere comes out. A lot of people, I remember when this came out, I liked the album, but Throw Me in the Jungle was the first single, and it was kind of viewed as a sellout because the keyboards were so driving the focus of the band. But I liked it. I always loved that keyboard focus of Born of Osiris, and I thought it was a really cool album, and I actually thought it was a step in the right direction. But as you could see, the 2 albums since has not been on Billboard. It may have been on the smaller charts, but like the top 200, the Billboard 200, is really the main thing that you want to see your charting in. And if you can't break the Billboard Top 200, the truth is you're really not making that much in album sales. And that means you're relying on touring. And what venues are Born of Osiris touring? They're playing smaller clubs for the most part. They're not a band playing big arenas or anything by any means, or big venues unless they're opening for a much bigger band. And that may be the problem why they can't find members to replace old members. And it even just goes into what are the fans demanding. If the fans don't demand to see a new keyboardist up there and a new second vocalist, and if this is what they're going to accept, then it's more money in their pockets to at least spread out. But now without a second guitarist, it sounds like they are bringing on another guitarist to play live shows. But Lee will really be missed because he is a virtuoso. And when you see that he's doing a solo project, the drummer is doing a solo project, I feel like this band may be becoming an afterthought for these guys. And that's when you wonder, if you're playing live with all these tracks, is it time to tap out and say, hey, we've had a hell of a run, but we don't want this band to be a shadow of what it once was? And that is what it's looking like. Because if you look back to performances when they had David DeRoche on bass and when they had Joe Burris, it looks like a completely different band than now. And it is kind of weird to me to watch them live. And I saw them, like I said, live last time in Brooklyn on that Attila tour. And you just see the vocalist hitting a trigger on a like an iPad or a tablet, and you hear all this stuff going on. No live keyboards. I mean, it's just not what I want to see in terms of a live show. Will I see them if they come around this area? Maybe, as long as, they do have a second guitarist, it sounds like. But I think they need someone to replace Joe Burris. I'm excited to hear what the new album sounds like. But, man, this is pretty crazy now to have the band without a guy who's such an integral part of their sound, Lee McKinney. And it just sucks to see. With that, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and check out the merch store. We've got these double-sided mugs. And we've got the badass Ian Scotto Rocks t-shirt on Next Level Apparel shirts. Also, I wanted to at least mention it because the man is a legend. I didn't have enough material to do a whole video on it, but I have to say, rest in peace to the legendary Rick Derringer. Real American, rock and roll coochie coo. Are you kidding me? We're losing legends every day. And I wanted to at least acknowledge that here on Ian Scotto Rocks. But with that, let me know your thoughts on Born of Osiris. Will you go see them live with basically half of what they once were? Are you excited for the new album? Let me know below. Send me a super thanks if you're feeling extra generous. And check out this video right here because I specifically spoke on here about Born of Osiris and bands that are relying more heavily now on tracks. And with Lee McKinney out of the band, they're going to be relying even more on tracks possibly. And that worries me.